Bienvenidos, welcome to ¿Qué pasa, mujer? Estamos aquí todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde. So we're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we're super excited because Maddie is back with us. We're going to go ahead and bring her on so we can start having our conversation for the day. Thank you, Mark, for everything that you do. And thank you to Pot TV. Hola, Maddie, ¿cómo estás?
Buenas tardes. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good.
Really,
So
really good.
before we get started, right, tell us about your new addition because that's the most
Yes.
important thing right now.
Really excited. So my grandbaby, sorry Viviana, we missed your birthday by a day, but she was born on March 13th. Yeah, so the 13th of March at 6 p.m. And beautiful, healthy baby girl. She weighed in at 7 pounds 9 ounces, 19 inches and 3/4. So she's great. Mom is doing great. My daughter did such an amazing job. I think about, when I had her, I had a natural birth with her. So it's like, it's very different going through it than seeing it actually happened. So, yes, I was a hot mess. I thought I was, I'm like, I'm going to break through this. I'm strong. I could see this because I've been through this. And then just watching her, it was like, I was a wreck. When the baby finally came out, I had the phone in my hand and I'm like, did one of these, but it was so exciting. It was beautiful to see it happen, and just so proud of her. And baby is beautiful, and I am in love all over again.
Nice.
Thank you.
That is nice. Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So she's gonna call you what?
She's gonna call me mama, so grandmama or mama. So because
Okay.
usually so in DR that's usually kind of what you call your elders or your grandma. You say mama, and then of course your immediate mom is your mommy. So that's how it was with me. My mom was my mommy, and then she was my kid's mama. So
Interesting. I didn't know that. I don't think we do that in Colombia. Well, that's not true because my grandmother's mom, everybody called her Mama Tolosa. So yeah.
okay.
But my grandmother, she gets called abuelita.
Okay.
And people get on me because I say mi abuelita, like she only belongs to me. So I always say mi abuelita. I don't know if her other grandchildren do that. I have to kind of pay attention to that. But I just say it's mi abuelita always. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
So outside of the baby, tell me a little bit about your week and how things were.
Let's see what's going on. What happened this week? I don't know. I just glad I made it. I made it through the week. No,
You
work
sure
has been.
did.
I know work has been challenging because we lost an employee earlier this year. So we're trying to make things happen only with 2 representatives. At my branch, we always had at least 4. So you can imagine going from 4 people servicing at the desk to only 2, how hectic things have been. And then if somebody's on vacation or somebody has an appointment or whatever, it just makes things crazier. So it has been very hectic, and, just thankful that we've been able to pull through. And, we hear again, adjusting to having a baby in the house, and kind of trying to support my daughter as best as possible. She's mainly breastfeeding, so the baby, has to stay with her as much as possible. But it's like in the little break time, so I, taking the baby out of the room so she can rest, or, even, have her pump so that I can bottle feed so that she can get a little break. So those things, and, kind of very blessed to see her mothering her baby. And it's funny because my husband always says, you have to stay with her and teach her what she needs to do. And, she doesn't know what to do. And, it was one of those moments that I had to tell him, it doesn't matter how much I tell her, that is her baby. Her baby is different. Every baby is different, and she has to get to know her baby. So again, seeing her, getting to know her child, and listening to her, mom, she does this, and whenever she's angry, she does that, and whenever, so those are always great stories to hear. And for me as a parent, as a mother, it's beautiful to hear her develop her own thing. So I'm just grateful for the little things.
That's
How
awesome.
about you?
I remember when I had my first son, I just remember they kind of gave me a white binder with instructions, and I was like, "Oh my God, everything is in there." But yeah, it could be scary, but it's nice that you're able to do that, Maddie, because some moms just kind of like take over, especially because your daughter is young, and then some moms are like, "Oh, do it this way or whatever." But it's nice that you kind of give her that freedom to find who she is as a mother, because that's why we're here, right? To learn and to have our own experiences, not
Correct,
necessarily
correct.
experience how you want her to experience. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember when I had her and I had no idea what I was doing, and having people tell me, "Well, you have to do this and you have to do that," and then the doctor telling you don't do this, and then the elders telling you do this, and it was like that confusion. And like at the end of the day, like I tell my daughter, doesn't matter what people tell you. You're gonna listen to what people tell you. You want to listen to the what the doctor says, but at the end of the day, you have to be content with the decision you make, because if something happens to the baby, it's your responsibility. So you have to be able to back up your whatever your decision is 100%, and it has to feel good. So don't let nobody ever pressure you into doing something that you don't feel good about. So I
Mhm.
always try to tell her that, because that's exactly how I felt. I can tell you this is what I did or this is what I would do, but then you need to decide.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's cool. Well, for me this week, just busy. It's kind of like I look at the calendar and I'm like, oh my God, it's Thursday already, or it's Friday already. So it's just a lot of movement. I have been doing a lot of, just networking this particular week. A lot of new insight in reference to like organizations that want to do things with the Latino community, where we live. Um,
Okay.
there are so many organizations that I wasn't aware of that just really want to work with the Latinos, but they just don't know where to start. You know, they have the heart for it, they have the funds for it, but they're just like, we don't know, like, how do we, they download like Duolingo to try and learn some Spanish on their own. And I just love it because I think it's so cute that, that's the way of trying to connect with us. So it's been busy in that aspect. Work is fine, my students, my clients. Sometimes I see clients that I'm like, oh my God, like, I have to share this story, but there's a little girl, she just comes with her jacket and it's so dirty, right? And I'm like, I wish that I haven't found, sometimes I see situations within my clients and I don't feel comfortable enough having that conversation with the parent. And it takes me like a good two, three, four times whenever to have that conversation, because I do have uncomfortable conversations sometimes with the parents. So I cannot wait until I feel comfortable to have that conversation, because I don't know, it's kind of like it has been heavy on me the last couple of days because I saw her yesterday, and it's tough. I don't know. I don't know. ¿Cómo no se da cuenta que la chaqueta está sucia? Like, how do you not notice that your child is not kept?
Those are hard conversations to have. I remember when I used to be a manager, at a branch, and managing people is always hard, especially when you have to have those hard conversations. And I remember having to have that conversation with an employee, when it came to body odor, or, how they kept themselves. And oh my God, it was like I spent weeks trying to figure out how I was going to approach the situation. But, sometimes, like you said, waiting to feel comfortable. I don't think you ever feel comfortable. It's more about feeling empowered to be able to have the conversation. Because a lot of the times we feel like we don't want them to be mad at us. But, to be honest with you, they are going to be mad at the beginning, and there's nothing, I mean, there's no way for you to spin it. But you have to say something. But the hope is that in the long run, they'll be thankful that somebody cared enough to say something to them. So that's the only
Mhm.
thing I can say.
Yeah, that's a good point. Before we move on, we just want to say thank you to Tangi and Lily and Veronica, because they're saying congratulations to you,
Thank you.
Maddie. Tangi said her family would say Big Ma or Mama. and the grandmother's name. Veronica, she said happy Sunday. Thank you guys for watching us today. And today we don't really have a topic to be, I don't know if you guys have noticed, right? But we're just kind of like asking each other questions about what's going on in our world. You know, sometimes we do it at the beginning of the year and our resolutions. But today I just kind of wanted to touch bases with Maddie. And Nikte is in her new place. So that's why she's not here today because she's trying to
Congrats, Nick Day.
she's trying to get her I guess her background ready for us. You know, if the background ain't right,
La silla, the chair.
gotta make sure she has her chair. Um, but I just wanted to kind of like, you know, touch kind of basis to see where we are with us, you know, kind of like a self check-in with our projects or whatever. So that leads to my other question, Maddie, with you and your poetry and the World Poetry Slam. I know you've done it before, right? But I'm sure the preparation, like tell us what your routine is, or what is this one, does it feel different? Because sometimes we could do different activities, but it kind of feels, it may the emotion, the excitement might be a little bit different. I know sometimes we situations happen and we target it in different ways, you know, because it's different situations. Even as parenting or even applying for a job, it's still the same action, but the emotion itself is different. So tell me about your process right now in preparation for the slam.
Yes. So for those of you who are tuning in, I will be participating in the Women of the World Poetry Slam this coming week. So I leave on Wednesday. It's going to be in Baltimore, Maryland. I leave Wednesday, and competition is going to be Thursday, Friday, and final stage is on Saturday. This year, like Vienna said, I participated about 2 years ago. It was 62 women that attended that year, and I ended up 18th. So this year is 96 women have signed up for it from all over the world, not only the US, but the world. So we have women from Africa, we have somebody from Canada, we have, I mean, there's people from all over the world. I think there's a girl from Brazil. I mean, it's amazing just to see how everybody has taken into our community. Also, it's the biggest national all women slam, so it's a little bit different. The energy with all women and how supportive everybody is. You know, usually when you walk into competition, it's like you kind of like have blinders on and you just, okay, I'm going to the stage and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But it's like being in a room where everybody is feeling everybody's poems. It's just a completely different type of energy. So I always look forward to going to the live events, whether I'm competing or not, when it's an all women competition. So again, this one has added pressure because there's more people. So you know, always you want to do better than the previous time. So to me, 17 or lower is kind of my goal, but there's more people now, so it's going to be harder to get to that number. But at the end of the day, you know, I just kind of want to do my best. I always, you know, last time I did a competition, I told God, please don't let me forget my poems. And I really wanted to win. So I just said, please don't let me forget my poems. I want to do my best. And I made it to the final, but I didn't win. So this time I said I was going to pray a little bit different. It's like, I want to win. Please don't let me forget my poems so that God can help me. So actually today I had a coaching session. So I've been, you know, George Mendes, who's the host of the venue and my poetry friend, and he's also my coach, has been guiding me through preparation. So and I've had a lot of things going on, so it's kind of been hard to focus on one thing. But yeah, it's, you know, I just want to do a good job. And then also we prepare every little bout or every night of competition. It's also, you know, you get to dress up and look, you know, beautiful. So
Wow.
it's always thinking about, okay, night one I'll wear this, night two I'm gonna wear that. So you know, that's always fun. So yeah, regardless of what happened, I'm just excited. And you know, again, also another thing that makes this competition different is that usually slams are 3-minute poems. This particular competition, we're going to do a round of 1-minute poems, a round of 2-minute poems, a round of 3-minute poems, and a round of 4-minute poems. So you have to go in there with 1, 2, 3, 4-minute poems. And when you make it to final stage, you need 3 3-minute poems. and you can only repeat one of the poems that you did throughout. So you have to go in there with a lot of poems first of all, and then kind of everything has to be hard. So yeah, that makes this competition unique.
Wow, that's exciting, pero like nerve-wracking at the same time.
It is. It is. And then another funny thing that happened is that they do anonymous bout draws, so like who's going to be in each competition, because they do, it's like little, your bouts or your rounds are against 6 people. So, they pick the 6 names to go in each bout. So my first night, I have another poet from Virginia that I know very well. And then there's another poet that I've met before that I've seen her in competition. So yeah, that's very intimidating. But my second night, I'm competing against my teammate. So it is
Oh.
so crazy because Cassandra is free. She's in my bout, and it's like she's my teammate. We've been doing competition. Since we started, the verb benders. So she was in the first verb bender team, and so was I. And we have this 12, 10, 11-year friendship. And it's like she knows all my poems. So it's like, okay, it's like I can't hide. You know what I have. So,
Well, vice versa. So both
and
of
vice
you have
versa.
insight. Hmm. So
Correct.
people don't get eliminated, just people get ranked 1 through 96.
Correct. So you get so every night, like I said, every little bout that you do, so the 1 minute, the 2 minute, the 3 minute, the 4 minute, your goal is to be ranked from 1 to 6. So whoever has the most ones in each, throughout the whole 2 nights of preliminary competition makes it to the finals. So the top 17 will make it to final stage. So the 17, 16, and 15 will be your sacrificial poets, kind of like the calibration poets. So you're not really competing, but you're the calibration poet. And then the top 14 will be the finalists that are going to compete for the cash money. So yeah,
What does the winner get?
I think the pot is like 3,000 or
You
5,000,
need
something
to
like
know
that.
this because you might get it.
Listen, I just want to make it to final stage. So like if you make it the 14 to 4, no, 14 to 5 get their registration fee back. They get their $150 back. And then 4 gets a cash prize, 3 gets a cash prize, 2 and 1 get a cash prize. So I think it's like 5,000, 3,000, and then 2,500, something like that. But
Yeah, so you
yeah.
need to know what the number 1 and number 2 are because you need to like know what's at the end of the tunnel. So you need to know what you're working for. So like that's part of the whole thing when you're praying to God and asking him to not let you forget.
Listen, I'm praying to make it to final stage, even if it is as a sacrificial poet. It's like once you make it to final stage, so again, it's a big deal. So you have who's everybody there watching. That's first. Second, there's a lot of poetry YouTube channels that are over there recording. So your poem may be recorded and may be put on national, on YouTube and become viral. So I mean, there's so many opportunities that just come from just making it to final stage, whether you are a competitor or you are a sacrificial poet. So right now, the goal is just to make it there and have my voice be heard nationally or internationally. And then, I mean, if I make it as one of the final competitors, then that's just icing on the cake for me. So
Got it. Well, I'm excited about that. So I know, Tangi she's always watching us and she actually likes poetry. She has a notebook and she's supposed to be writing on that book because I've been telling her to go to like an open mic stuff so she can like, compete.
yes. Yes, you'll be well, not even necessarily compete. There's a lot of open mics like this past weekend, I was a guest at it was a all women celebration as well, and we got to present poems and things like that. And there were a lot of people that actually older people. There was a lady, she must have been like close to 70, and she approached us and she's like, "Oh ladies, I enjoyed you. I also wrote a poetry book. I don't perform like you guys, but I love writing." And she shared her stuff with us, and it was amazing to see her again, being older, being a grandma, a different lifetime from us. You know what I'm saying? And yes,
Yeah.
still sharing the love and the passion for the art form. So yes, sometimes, we think, oh, I can't do what she does. Well, you don't need to do what I do. You can do your own thing and still be good. So
You heard that, Tangi? I hope you heard it.
yeah,
I
I
know
hope to see you.
she put a comment, Lord, I'm going to get you, V. But yes, that's fine. I don't mind. So that's why I decided to put you on blast so you can start acting on your gift. So yes, very good. So my question too, in reference to that, like people like Tangi, like seriously, right? If you have that gift, right? Just get up and go and find like an open mic, right? In your local area.
Yeah, I think the toughest part is actually getting out there and reading your poems. Because I always say, I never in a million years ever expected to be doing what I'm doing. I went to an open mic and I wanted to share my words because I heard people sharing their stuff and it sounded a lot like what I had to say. So I was like, I want them to hear what I have to say. And I did. And then, like I said, it's just amazing when you get into a room and you read or say something that is very particular to you. And then you have people coming up to you and be like, I can totally relate to what you said. And you're like, how can you relate to that if that happened to me, not to you? So again, I always say that's how you know that we are more alike than we are different, when we share our stories. And that's kind of what this poetry platform does. It kind of, you share your words, and then you find those similarities with the people that are around you. So I think the first step is just get up and read, like have people listen to you. And the more you do it, the more confident you're going to feel. Whenever you write something, not everything, like for example, I write for competition, not everything I write is competition worthy. I might write 10 poems that are crap before I can write that 11th poem that's going to be like, this is a heavy hitter. So just understand that too, that not every poem that you're going to write is going to be a great poem, but nonetheless, doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve to be heard. So get out there and read your stuff, and that's kind of how you learn the craft and you get better, and listening to other people too, because that helped me tremendously. Like with me, I started writing in Spanish and then translating to English. That was my process. But the more I heard poets do their poetry, the more comfortable I started feeling just writing in English. So the same thing, the more you listen to other poets, it's studying the art form, the more comfortable you're going to feel coming up with your own poetry.
That's good advice. Like when you made us come up with a poem,
Exactly.
you put us on the spot,
Exactly.
and it was
Didn't you
actually cool.
didn't you surprise yourself?
I did. I
So
did.
that's what I'm saying. And it was wonderful. So, it's like, it's one of those things that you're like, well, I'm not a writer, but I'm going to put this together. And then you did, and you're like, it wasn't that bad. So I think
Yeah.
I might be okay. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how it starts.
Yep. So I'm gonna remind Tangi throughout the week, just because you don't even have to make eye contact with the people. You just get on the mic, write your name on the list, get on the mic, and just read from your phone.
Yes, and if you're gonna recite from memory, just look at the back of the room. Like eye level to the back of the room. Don't focus on the people. That's my trick. I'm looking
Mm.
at the people, but I'm not really looking at anybody.
So do you do anything to ease the nervousness?
Just doing it. I mean, you can't do anything. And it's funny because it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, especially competition. It doesn't matter how much you get on that stage. I mean, at least I say, if you care about what you're doing, you're always going to be nervous. So it's one of those things that it doesn't matter how prepared you are, things can happen. But the more you do it, the more you learn to deal with anything that can happen. So for example, the biggest nightmare of any performer is to forget their words. And I remember at the beginning when I started, I would forget my words, and it was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And like, you will say all these things that the whole world knew that I forgot my poems. And now it's like the same thing happens, but I would either freestyle, take a pause, or say another word and keep going. Like, you would do other things. So nobody knows that I messed up, but I know that I messed up. So you kind of learn how to deal with those things. So also you learn when you're about to lose it, you know. So like for example, when I do my very heavy heartfelt poems, like I know when those are going to send me over the edge. So it's kind of learning how to go there, but then take yourself out of there so you can finish the poem. And you only learn that through experience. The more you do it, the more you know. Like I know that if I'm doing my mom's poem, I know when I get to this part, I know I'm going to cry. So, okay, so how do I cry but still keep going with my poem? Well, I'm going to do it the first time and I'm going to lose it, probably forget the poem. The second time, I'm going to get through it, crying a lot. The third time, I might cry, but I might finish the poem and then cry some more. You know, so the more you do it, the more you know, and you can allow yourself time either before or after to kind of take yourself out of that space.
So interesting. I love the techniques, to your ¿cómo se dice? To your craft. That's awesome. I love that. And you don't really think about it until, like, I never think about poetry. Like when I was in school, I would think about poetry and I would just dread it because I had to like think and like I had to like dig in me and analyze. And I was like, oh my God, it's too much work. But yeah, I've learned to embrace it, and I still remember like the first time that I heard you perform, and it was a bilingual poem, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm addicted to her. Like it just felt so good, especially being in this area, because back then we didn't have as many Latinos as we have now. But it was just amazing because and even to this day, like who else does bilingual poems in this area but you?
I actually I've met a couple of people, but they're not as involved in the community as I am. You know, like even George. George is Puerto Rican, so he speaks pretty good Spanish. He doesn't incorporate Spanish as much into his poetry, but he can. I had also when I first started doing poetry, there was a Christian poet. His name is Latino A2J. So and he was also bilingual, and I remember him giving me a poem and said, I need help translating this poem. I want it in Spanish. And we worked on it together. And it was, awesome to be able to take his English poem and do a Spanish rendition that felt the same. Because like to me, I translate my poems, but it's not necessarily translating verbatim. It's more translating the feeling that whether you hear my English or my Spanish version, you still feel the same. Like that's kind of
Mhm.
what I go for when I translate a poem. So yeah, being able to do that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I haven't met anybody that does what I do here. So
Yeah, not at all. So Tangi said her poems are sad, but it doesn't matter
that's
because
okay.
George has dark poems. He has a whole book about dark poems.
That is okay. A lot of my poems that I mean, I think I've shared a lot of stuff with Que Pasa Mujer, but a lot of my competition poems are very heavy. So I try to kind of stay away from those, especially here, because we want to empower and encourage. But that is okay, because like I said, sometimes you're thinking that you're feeling this way, that you don't want to make everybody else sad, but then you don't know who is feeling the same thing you are feeling that's watching you or listening to you. So
Hmm. Yeah, Tangi said, wow, thanks. I agree. I love the techniques as well. Can't wait to meet you, Maddie. Yeah, she's not far from you, Tangi. You just have to go to one of her performances. Or we could go to Washington, D.C. this weekend.
no,
Oh,
Baltimore,
Baltimore.
Maryland. I'll send you, you know what? I'll send you the link for final stage, because even if I don't make it to final stage, like I said, you're talking about the best women in the world that are going to be in that final stage. And it is amazing, like amazing. I went last year. I didn't compete. I just went for final stage. And yeah, I was there for one day just for that. And it was amazing.
I'm
So
sure. Do they have a male version or no?
they don't. They don't. They just have women of the world. Yeah.
Wow. And it's on Women's Month too.
Yes, that's why they do it on this month. Yep. Women's History
Okay.
Month.
Yeah, because I think what is it? Next Sunday is the last Sunday. Well, next Sunday is the 31st, so it's the last day
Correct.
of
Correct.
Women's Month. Even though we're celebrated every month, but
Of course. Every
March is
day.
special. Yeah, every day. That's cool. I like that. So we're gonna encourage Tangi to make it happen.
Yes, and I'm also raising funds because like I said, it's a week over there, so we have to pay, for hotel, we have to drive ourselves there. So we are raising funds to kind of make sure that we survive the week over there. So
Oh, do you have a link so we could put it up?
I actually no, I think I have put a post on Facebook. I'll send you guys like my Cash App and stuff like that. But this is kind of what I shared. So since we have to do a 1 minute, a 2 minute, a 3 minute, and a 4 minute poem, I put out there you can donate $1, $2, $3, $4. The first night of competition, you have to do a 1 minute poem and a 4 minute poem. So that's $14 if you want to support my 9-1. My night two is a 2 minute poem and a 3 minute poem. That's $23. So you can give me 1, 2, 3, or 4, or you can give me 14 or give me 23.
That's cool.
Yes, so I'll give you guys, I'll put my Cash App and my Zelle up there. So if you want to help out, it means the world to me.
Yeah,
So
we'll share it. Because
yeah.
so you're leaving, you said Wednesday?
Wednesday. We're leaving Wednesday, so we have orientation on Wednesday afternoon. So we're gonna try to be there early as possible so we can make orientation. And then the cool thing also is when you compete, there are a bunch of workshops done by other world-renowned poets, and we get to do workshops, activities together with the other poets the whole time that we are there. So that's gonna be amazing. I signed up for like 4 workshops, so I'm just so excited, and I can't wait to see what I come up with out of those workshops. So
Yeah, because then you're gonna come back and maybe apply some of that stuff to your new work.
and call Tangi so she can write a poem like that too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think she follows you on social media, but oh, Jasmine Brooks said go Tangi, exactly. So we're
Right?
gonna root for Tangi. Tangi, you got a lot of people putting pressure on you, so we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, we're talking about writing poems. I see here that even Mark got to write a poem, and I think he read it to us in private. We have to bring him in one of these days and have him share his poem with us in Que Pasa Mujer. So,
Yeah, we have to
Mark,
do that.
get ready.
Yeah, we'll do it. Well, we don't have Men's Month, but we'll do it. Maybe next month. We'll give you some time to prepare, Mark. And you can talk about women in your poem if you want, since you love us so much.
Yeah, you got to include Que Pasa Mujer in there too. So,
Yes, definitely. That's cool. Well, thank you for that, Maddie. I also wanted to ask you about because you're our financial guru, of course. So I just wanted you to maybe share some, like looking back, right? Out of all your experiences and everything that you've been through in your life when it comes to the financial world. Do you have any regrets about it? And I know we've talked about regrets in the past, no regrets or whatever, but maybe something you could have done different.
of course, I mean, there's tons of things. I've made tons of mistakes that I wish that I would have known better, that I could have avoided half of the stuff that probably 90% of everything that I've done. Because I think that's kind of how you learn. Sometimes goes back to what we were talking about before with the baby, getting to know the baby. I think life is an experience that it doesn't matter what you go through. You cannot explain that to anybody else so that they can avoid their own mistakes. They have to make their own mistakes so that they can learn and that they can find a place where they can build and be better, but they only going to learn by doing and by making mistakes themselves. That's kind of what teaches you lessons. So it doesn't matter how much what you say. What is it, Jasmine? What is it that Jasmine said? Can you read that? Because that was wonderful.
Yeah, she said diamonds make pressure makes diamonds.
Correct. So I think we have to go through those events so that it can make us better. You know, Definitely the saving part of it. I think I talked about this. I started working at the bank 18 years ago. And I remember when I started, I heard about their 401k and that they were matching. But to me, that wasn't important because nobody ever took the time to explain that to me. I contributed because I was like, okay, whatever. I think I was doing like 1% or 2% out of whatever I was making when the bank was matching 6%. So if I would have known that from the beginning, I would have been putting in my my 6% so that I could get the 6% that the bank was giving. But nobody explained that to me. So it took me a while to kind of figure that out, but it took me like 5 or 6 years. So I wasted 5, 6 years in there that I wasted all that money that I could have been getting for free. But it took one person, coming in and explaining to us what the 401k was, kind of explaining the situation, explaining the whole thing to us. And then for me to be able to decide, this is what I want to do. I'm sorry. My doggy got all excited. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So you know, just knowing that, like that knowledge. So it took me a while to get there. So I wish I would have known that when I was younger, because like I said, I've been working since I was 14 years old. So if I would have known a little bit of what I learned at 35 when I was 15, it would have been a lot different. So kind of like stressing the importance of it and learning more. And again, don't get me wrong, I was a business major. So I learned about a lot of stuff when I was in high school, but it was never stressed how important it was. It was not something that was being done by somebody that was close to me. My parents were not talking about that. My immediate examples that I had were not talking about that to me. So it was not something. It was not something that I saw anybody doing. So it was not a learned behavior. So I wish that I could have done that. Let's see what else. So retirement, saving, managing your credit. I remember getting in credit card debt when I was in college because they were giving credit cards to college students that had no jobs.
Yeah, you would get a free T-shirt.
Exactly. So I did it for the t-shirt and then, ended up messing up my credit, So it's little things like that, yes, if you can do this because you're an adult now, but you got to understand the responsibility that comes with that. So it's not only about giving the credit card. Yes, give me the credit card, but educate me first. And then if I make the mistake, then at least I know what I did. I can learn from it, but, educate me before you do that. So just like they educate you before you go out into the world, like why not include something like that too before you give me the credit card, before I go out there and try to buy a car with an expensive car payment, things of that nature. So I'm happy that the more we talk about it, the more I learn that there's high schools and schools out there that are teaching the youth that has some kind of financial responsibility driven course or program, or they're talking about it and giving kids the space to be able to talk about that. So I think it's important. Again, as always, grateful for this platform because we can kind of voice our concerns, talk and educate, and then hopefully somebody that's watching can say, I need to talk about this with my children, or if it's a child, let me ask the question, because sometimes we just have to advocate for ourselves. And if you won't teach me, then let me ask the questions so that you can teach me.
Yeah, because I know, personal finance is a requirement, at least here in Virginia, for high schoolers to get that to take that class. But even, my son has gone through the class, and we were talking the other day about paying taxes or filing taxes, and he was like, "What?" Like because he got a 1099 this year from his part-time job, and he was like, "Are these the taxes?" And I'm like, "No,"
You
right?
haven't paid any taxes.
And I'm like, oh my God, what have your parents done? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, just come by the office and let me show you what the taxes look like. And, because they take these classes sometimes. And that's why I think it's important, like what you said about having that conversation at home as well. Right. So sometimes we might ask the kids, how school, the grades are looking good, A's, B's, C's, if you're happy with C's. But I think we can potentially dig in a little bit more. Like, what are you guys talking about in that class? Oh, savings? Oh, okay. So how do you save? How much money have you saved? To kind of dig in a little bit more. Or this is how I do it at our house, even though they taught you this in school. Or maybe they can teach us something that they're learning in the class themselves. So I think it's I blame the parents, but I also blame technology
Yeah.
because technology has just kept us from having conversations with people in our household.
Yeah, kids are learning from Google. Everything is like Google it. I think also it's that kids learn things in school, but they don't relate it to real life. Oh yeah, I heard that. But okay, do you apply it to your life? How does that apply to your life, to what you're doing, to what you want to do? And I think that's the part that's missing sometimes. Yes, they learn stuff, but how do we apply what we just learned? I think that's the part that's missing and that is not connected, because yes, you learn about that, you heard about that, but how does that affect my life? How can I put that into play? Savings, I learned what is savings, but am I doing savings? What does that look like you said, mom, we learn about savings. How do we, what can we do about that? So we're running out of time, and I have tons of questions for you too, Viviana. So this is how I am going to shift this conversation. So
Okay.
I have things that I want to know too. So,
Okay.
so the first thing that I'm going to ask you is when you say your name, Viviana Andrade, what are three things that you want people to immediately think of when they hear your name?
That I'm Colombian. That's like my first thing, right? Number two, that I serve people. Number three, that I empower people as I empower myself.
That's awesome. And then talking about empowering, I know, for us as women, as mothers, I think the one of the most important jobs that we do is, again, raising our children. And I know that you have two boys. I know, as a mother of a girl, for me, it's I'm not gonna say that it is easier, but you can kind of relate more because you kind of go through similar struggles, or you can see your struggles reflected on your children. And I'm pretty sure that it's the same or similar with boys. But how is it raising boys? How do you, I know you have a great relationship with their father, even though you guys don't live in the same household, you kind of do a great job teaming up to raise the boys. But
90% of the time.
when they are with you, how is that chemistry? How have you been able to build on that? We are not the same, but you can learn from me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
How does that work for you guys?
So I think I give them the female aspect of the world, right? And so I talk to them about my perspective. I talk to them about maybe more whatever. And I don't know everything that dad does, but I try to always have a platform for them where they could be themselves. Like even when him and I were talking about his finances this particular week, and I said, hey, because he wanted some money from me, right? For a bill he has. And I was like, well, I'll help you pay for it, but where's your money at from work? Right. So he's like, oh, it's mainly it's going to the gas or whatever. But I hear him like going out to eat all the time. So I said, hey, I said, I'll help you pay for the bill, right? But this week, find some time to come in, like, so we can look at your bank statement because he swipes everything, right? Or Cash App
Mhm.
or whatever. So we can look at it without judgment. It's just a teaching moment. Like I'm not gonna judge you if you went to whatever restaurant and spent $300, right? It's not, that's not my purpose. Even though I might still, because I'm sarcastic, so I might still slick in a little comment here and there, but I
You
try,
wouldn't be mom without that.
yeah, but I try to like really, and I tell them ahead of time, right? Like we're about to have like raw conversation right now, and I always use the word no judgment, and even I try to tell them like my perspective, and I try to show them about being empathetic and not always just looking at their point of view, but also viewing things from other people's lenses, not just theirs.
Mhm.
And in reference to like dating and stuff like that, I talk to them about how would you want someone to treat your mother? Or if you had a daughter, how would you want her to be treated? So I always talk about being a gentleman and opening doors and just being respectful.
That's an excellent leeway to my next question. So if your boys bring, when they bring the girl that they're gonna marry, home, what are three things that you need them to know, need the girl to know to be able to make your sons happy?
Oh, wow. I would want them. It's so funny you say this, Maddie, because I promise you, I was thinking about that either late last night or this morning. I was thinking about having a conversation with my son because he's seeing somebody now and it looks a little bit more serious than anything before. Um, and I was just going to talk to him about making sure that his heart is guarded, right? It's
Mm,
covered and protected, but also for him to protect and guard her heart, right? So I would say that, like, I need my son's heart to be guarded in
mm.
both directions.
What does
Um,
that look like when you say his heart guarded? What does that look like? How?
it looks like I guess I would want her to have, I guess, to be his wife in the way that I've been his mother, if
Mm.
in that way, in reference to transparency and no judgment, and just having an open line of communication. So it's so funny because I had a conversation with girlfriend today, and I was like, what's something that you love about my son and something that you don't like about him? So she said, I just love because he's a really good listener. And
Mm.
I felt proud when she said that, even though she doesn't know this. But inside of me, I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Because that's what you want as a woman. You want your mate to listen to you.
You did good, mom. That's what that means.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said, do you think he has a bad temper? She said, no, does he? Like, she looked at me. I was like, no. I was like, a couple of years ago, I would see a bad temper on him in basketball games. Like, he would get mad and stuff like that. But I haven't seen him like that in like 2 years.
Because he has matured, and that comes, with learning, again, with learning your way. Being an athlete myself, I remember my first year in college. I played college volleyball, and I remember my first year. And anytime anything happened and I was angry, everybody knew it, and I would throw myself on the floor like a little kid throwing a tantrum, and
Mhm.
and I know it was very frustrating for my coach, because you don't have to act that way to try to fix things. But it took me learning and maturing. Like that year I was a freshman, and it was my first time in a team like that. And the second year, by the time I was a senior, that I was team captain, like it was a totally different person than that person that was a freshman that started playing the sport. So I would say it is maturity. You kind of learn the behavior, and it's wonderful that you've been able to notice that change from him then to him now. That means that he has grown. So
Yeah, I was super excited about that when she said that.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so that's what I would say. I would say for her to guard his heart, guard his heart, but at the same time, I'm telling her guard your heart. Like, they should be doing that for each other. And I would say just the conversation, the friendship.
Hmm.
I think my son, I would love for my son to marry his friend, his best friend, and vice versa. And because I don't have a daughter, I will see her as my daughter.
Mm, that was gonna be my next question. I know also, again, the dynamic between your son and your daughters are very different. So coming, usually we tell our girls, um, don't put up with this, do this, be independent, be this, be that, and do all these things so you could be self-sufficient and you don't have to depend on somebody. Now, if you see, and then of course, our kids are our kids, are they're not, how can I put it, like, we, even if they do something bad, they will always be our children. So if you were to catch your son doing something that he was not supposed to do, how will you, and it would be tough, how will you approach that with his wife or his girl, to the point that, would you protect her over him if you knew that he was doing something that he was not supposed to do? Like, what would that look like?
I would, because I think that I'm a woman first, right? I'm a woman first, and my son should know better because he loves on me today, right? And he has his grandmother and his great grandmother. And he knows, like, it was so cute the other day. They were both at my office and he went to get pizza, and he served her the pizza and brought it to her. He didn't do that to me, which I have
He
to
said,
talk
"Mom,
to him
you're
about.
young. You can get
I
your
have
own
to
food."
I have to talk to him about that now that I remember. But I felt happy inside of me that he did that. You know, he didn't even ask her, "Do you want me to do it?" He just automatically did it. So yeah, I get it, like, you're my son or you're my mother, you're my friend, but when you know that it's wrong, it's wrong. I still love you, but I can
Mhm.
still tell you that it was wrong
Mm,
because you're my son.
right.
And to be honest with you, Maddie, I don't think that it would even be hard. I don't think it would be hard
Mm.
because he knows is wrong.
Yeah. So again, a great leadway to my next question. So you mentioned your grandma and your mom. I know as Hispanic families, it's like I don't think it's something that we talk about. It's just something that's ingrained in our brains. It's like you take care of your elders, and like I know you are an only child. So it's like you don't have anybody to pass down the responsibility to. It's like you have to take care of mom and dad. I mean, of your mom and your dad, or, mom and grandma. So for you, does it feel does it feel like a responsibility? Is it something, and I know the answer to this, but I just have to say it. Does it feel something that you have to do? I know you embrace it, but what does that feel like? What do you want you taking care of mom and grandma to look like? And then lastly, do you expect your children that were raised here to take care of you?
So I'm gonna answer it a little bit backwards. So I don't expect my boys to take care of me, but I'm gonna build a really strong relationship with their wives that they're gonna want to, look out for me, because I don't have any daughters, so like they will be my daughters, and that's my technique. That's my retirement plan.
That's your backward psychology.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. No, but I don't have that expectation. Even today with my oldest son, he's very independent. He goes, but during his moments of weakness, vulnerability, I get a phone call, you
Mhm.
know. Um, so it's my job to take care of myself as I get older. Um, and if they're there in any capacity, it's just a bonus, to be honest with you, because I don't
Mhm.
I don't want to have an expectation and then it fails.
What about you taking care? Like, and again, I know the answer, but why do you feel it's important that you take care of your mom and your grandma? Why
It's
are you
important.
so why are you so fierce when it comes to that? Because you always talk about that, about making time, about being there, about them being active and doing stuff for them. I know that you are very active when it comes to doing activities with the elders, and that is because of the people you have in your life. So, like, why is that important?
So let me read my mom's comment first. She said, "Pobre de mi hija, mamá de la abuela y la mamá. Es un
Es un
patrón
patrón.
aprendido, pero ellos van a ser protectores de la mamá." Yeah, that's my private security team. I think it's important, Maddie, because um who else can do a better job than me, because they're like 10 minutes away from me.
Mhm.
So do I delegate certain things? Do I call the health insurance and they have a program where somebody can come and pick her up and take her to the drugstore or whatever and run errands with her? Yes, but it's part of her needing that, right? Like I do once a month, I do a senior citizen social event for Spanish speaking seniors, right? And I do it because I was inspired by my grandmother and another lady too, because they were crying. They're like, I live with family, but I feel alone at times, right? And the other
Mhm.
lady started to cry. So I was like, oh man, like, let me put a group together. And so we meet once a month and
So
we
they can
feed
cry
them.
together? No, just
No, they haven't cried. They have not cried yet.
good. Good.
But they eat, they listen. I put music from de sus tiempos, that they like. Yesterday, we had a lady come in and do Zumba with them. There's a lady that has Alzheimer's, and she brought her guitar. She played the guitar and she sang. Like, we had a great time. And uh, even if it's once a month, right? I just think I don't see it even as a job. Like, I love to take care of my grandmother and my mom. I like the feeling of serving. I think that that's what it is. It's such a fulfillment to be able to, because how can I also help the community and not help my mom and my grandmother, right? It's just like not helping my children. So I think it's that. If I feel good when I do it, I feel happy that they're happy. A lot of the times, maybe something bad may be happening, but I'll cover it up, and they don't even know that it even happened or whatever,
Mhm.
because why should you have heartache, or here's maybe a letter from an attorney or some legalities and stuff like that may
Mhm.
happen in the past. Like, I think I'm guarding them, I'm protecting them from that, because I think like I got it, like I can handle that.
Ah, that's wonderful. I think that
Mhm.
concludes my questions.
Thank you.
No, awesome job, and I love everything you said from your children, from the daughter-in-laws, and your parents, and yeah, it's a blessing to see. Let's see, how can I phrase this? It's a blessing to know you, and to see what you do, to see the love you have for your family, and the pride in all that you guys are.
Mhm.
So every family chemistry is different, and we have this preconception in our minds of what a family looks like, and when in reality, every family is different, and just because it's different doesn't mean that it is better or worse than others. So thank you for your great example of your family, your chemistry. I love that Lily is always here supporting you, whether we speaking in English or in Spanish, and she's
Mhm.
always like the cheerleader in the back, whether she understands what we're talking about or not. And we love her for that, and that's all because of you. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Maddie. I really appreciate that. I think sometimes we just live life every day, and we don't really see the significance of the work that we're doing, and the energy that we're giving other people, how significant it is. Like, Veronica says, I'm a blessing or whatever, but just like I'm a blessing to her, she's a blessing to me in other ways. So it's this constant give and take, and I
mhm,
think that that's what life is.
yeah.
And even like I only see Maddie on Sundays through the computer, but I feel so connected to her. Like, even when the baby was coming, I'm like, hey, she's not here yet for my birthday. Like, what's going on, so we're still connected, even though we might not have that, day-to-day relationship. But thank you. I appreciate that, Maddie. What was I gonna say? But yeah, I just love it. I love what I do every day. And I don't have any regrets, just like you. And I just embrace life as it comes, because what else can I do?
Mhm.
Just like I was at a friend's house, when was a Friday night, and she said something about the news, and I was like, I don't watch the news. I was like, if the world is coming to an end in 20 minutes, I don't want to know, because I'm gonna be like, oh my God, where are my sons? But if it's coming to an end, like, I'm enjoying the moment right now.
Yes, and talking about regrets, it's useless to regret something that you cannot change. So if you can't change it, learn from the moment and just try to be better. So
Exactly. Well, thank you, Maddie, so much. I hope you have an amazing week. But before we go, of course, we got to listen to a poem.
yay.
We're
Okay.
ready.
Okay, so again, thank you to everybody that's been listening. Thank you for this opportunity, Viviana, to kind of share a little bit of us, in different angles, and kind of share what we have going on. So thank you again for listening. So um yeah, so I think a lot, one of the things that I always talk about is, kind of being proud of who we are, and we just listened to your story, how proud you are of you and yours. So this poem is called Pride. So if you haven't heard me before, you may not know that I am as American as they come, but as I walk, my history follows and whispers in my ear while my heart already knows que tengo sangre taína, que soy Afro-Latina, full of Yoruba songs, the beats of oppression, the rhythms of redemption, that two-stepping merengue dancing in my Dominican soul. That I understand the responsibility that I represent, the freedom that I inherited by being born in the United States, the look in the mirror that never lets me forget that my ancestor stories come in different shades. That in the Dominican Republic, people still live afraid of the negative reaction melanated skin can get. There, I'm considered trigueña. Here, I am negra, yet this pride is still the same. I hate that I wasted so much time keeping my hair straight, as if trying to force out the identity kinks out of my head, that this pelo malo or bad hair expression was just an attempt to degrade one of my dominant African traits. You see, I am a mulata, and that simply meant that my hair has character. It should have never taken me so many years to accept this black and white history that's tangled within my curls. That there may be some truth to the myth that Black bodies are stronger than most, because these shoulders have been able to carry the culture of two worlds, tamboras that echo whenever I walk, storytelling DNA running through my blood, my hips broad to pass down the knowledge of those who came before us, my voice loud, one size fits all, to let it be known that there is no wall that can keep out the pride in Americans like me, like us. That I understand that speaking English is imperative because this is the United States, but my Spanish will forever represent this direct connection, assimilation, this common thread that's weaving this blanket of history, hugging each one of my cells, connecting my parents' legacy to my current space, projecting who I am to who I will teach my children to be, because I strongly believe that one of the best privileges that I've enjoyed next to being free is growing up as a proud American, still celebrating the Dominican in me. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. I love it when you do like culture poems. It just gives me the chills every time. But thank you, Maddie. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the work that you do, and I appreciate just who you are, because I think you're awesome.
I love you. Thank you.
Mhm.
We lost you, Viviana. I don't hear you.
Sorry.
No.
Tangi said, fire, amazing. I love it. You did an amazing job, Maddie. Wepa, I love it. We love the poems. I love it. All right, Maddie. Well, have an amazing week. Mark, you as well. Our audience, please, guys, have an amazing week. Enjoy the life that we have. Thank you. Nos vemos. We'll see you guys on Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
One day, we won't need this day. We won't need a day to celebrate how far we've come. We won't need a day to prove we're just as fast or strong or skilled. We won't need a day to relive the comebacks, the firsts, or the titles we've won. We won't need a day to rally behind the ones fighting to change the rules. One day, we won't need this day at all, because one day, this day, will be our everyday.
it's not where I am welcome. And if I saw the angels, I know it's weird how all this green appeared. I think I dreamt it here. I promise I'm sincere, and I said mine will watch me falling through the fields. Watch me falling through the fields. Confessions are falling down, down, down. It's so good they got them ground, ground, ground. Confessions are falling down, down, down. It's so good they got them ground,
are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be. A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.